My sister tried to cut off her best friend after a wedding disaster, but a shocking truth exposed her as a manipulative liar. About a year ago, my sister Stephannie named me the maid of honor. I found this strange because, ever since she was little, she had sworn to her best friend, Rose, that she would be her maid of honor. Everyone asked Stephannie about this throughout the wedding planning, but she said nothing. When the big day came, Rose was there, but at the back, wearing an eccentric dress. Her fashion sense has always been crazy, and therefore, her dress gathered no attention. But despite this, Stephannie believed she was being outshone. She planned to spill champagne on Rose's dress and started walking toward her, holding a glass. Thankfully, I caught her before she could do it. When I tried to talk her out of it, she started screaming. The entire audience turned to us, and I simply told Stephannie that either she stopped screaming right now and stopped embarrassing herself, or I would leave the wedding venue immediately. I saw her go red. She stopped yelling and excused herself to the bathroom. The rest of the wedding was rather awkward, and you could definitely feel the sour taste in the air. I probably should have, but I did not talk to Rose. Ever since the wedding, Stephannie started cursing Rose out, saying that their friendship was over. She did not blame me at all, which I found surprising, but she shifted every ounce of blame onto her former best friend. For, in my opinion, absolutely no reason. One day, after yet another one of Stephannie's Rose tirades, I snapped. I told her that she had been friends with Rose for most of her life and that she knew how she dressed. If it was such a problem, she should have found a way to mention it to her, made her a bridesmaid, or just communicated in any way. Stephannie lost it with me. She sent Rose some really horrible messages after she screamed at me, also saying nasty and cruel things. She didn't say a word to me all of yesterday, but she's been bad-mouthing me to our dad, who is on her side. My mom told Stephannie that she should apologize to Rose for the nasty messages she sent and for yelling at me. So, now Stephannie isn't talking to her either. I don't even know what's going on, but Rose swears on her life that they didn't have an argument or anything before the engagement. Stephannie says that that's none of my business and that I should be supporting my real sister. My dad agrees with her, and she's rallied the other bridesmaids against me. I don't know what to do. Update 1. I decided I wanted to let my sister Stephannie know how much she meant to me, and I planned to tell her that this morning. However, she looked like someone peed in her cereal again, so I didn't. Stephannie's husband, Frank, asked me if I could talk to Stephannie, because they've apparently had a massive fight after he tried to defend Rose on the wedding night. He asked me if I could explain where he misstepped and how to make it up to her. This was the first time he had ever asked me for help with their relationship, so he was clearly at a loss. I told him I was just as confused, and we didn't even know why Rose wasn't in the bridal party. Frank then said something strange. The reason Rose wasn't in either wedding party was because he wanted her as a best woman, and Stephannie wanted her as a maid of honor. But Stephannie wouldn't budge and said they should just drop her from both parties. To be fair, he said that she explained it to Rose, and that's why they had a fight, because Rose wanted to be included. I said okay and just hung up. But the more I think about it, the more confused I am. If they had a massive fight about Rose being maid of honor, surely Rose would remember? Also, why would Frank want Rose as his best woman when, to my understanding, he only met her after he started dating Stephannie? Update 2. I'm even more confused. Frank called me about 30 minutes ago, angrily asking if any of his groomsmen behaved inappropriately toward me. I could hear Stephannie screaming in the background. I told him they had been perfect gentlemen at the wedding and that I hadn't had any contact with them since. Then he asked me if Rose knew she was supposed to be the best woman. I said not to my understanding, but that it was possible. Both Stephannie and Rose had been secretive about what happened between them, and I told him he'd be better off asking her himself. He laughed and hung up. Rose texted me, asking if I knew about the best woman/maid of honor thing. Just now, I also got a message from one of the bridesmaids saying that if Frank calls me, I shouldn't answer him. Stephannie is currently on the phone with my dad, screaming at him. I have no clue what's going on, but I think somewhere in this mess is the truth of what actually happened. Update 3. The truth comes out. There has been a lot of shouting and tears today. Stephannie has been lying to everyone. Turns out that Frank is an ex-addict and has been to jail. He met Rose before he met Stephannie. When Frank was recovering, he was struggling financially, and Rose helped him a lot. He considers her one of his closest friends. 2 years later, Frank had a stable job, and Rose introduced him to Stephannie. Stephannie was ashamed of his past and told us that they met on a dating app. Frank wanted Stephannie to be honest with us, but she never did. Instead, she wrote a fake letter from our family, saying that we accepted him. When Frank proposed, Stephannie panicked. She knew if Rose was best woman, the truth would come out. So she lied, telling Rose nothing and telling Frank that Rose was upset about being dropped. She manipulated everyone. She convinced the bridesmaids that Rose was a troublemaker and that Frank's groomsmen were inappropriate. The plan? Erase everyone who knew Frank's past. Frank figured it out when he started calling people and realized Stephannie's stories didn't add up. She confessed everything, and he kicked her out. Now, Stephannie is at my parents' house, completely destroyed. My mom won't even look at her, and my dad is furious. Frank is devastated. The fake letter she wrote to him was his most treasured possession. He has asked for distance from our family, and honestly, I can't blame him. I don't know if he will ever want to speak to Stephannie again, or if he even wants to be her husband after this. Update 4. Stephannie is completely shattered. She confessed to even more lies. She once got a mentally challenged coworker fired because she thought he would ruin her department's image. My dad forced her into therapy. She fought it hard, but he wouldn't back down. She has no choice now. Frank sent a message 2 days ago. He doesn't want to stay married to her. He realizes now that he was deceived about who she really is. Stephannie had a full-blown breakdown. She is just as upset about the divorce as she is about how she will be perceived as a divorced woman. She is not well. I hope therapy helps her, because the sister I knew is gone.